So John McCain's social justice warrior left warmongering daughter is crying, and the world is paying attention as she is trending on Twitter right now after she broke down in tears on national television because of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's, quote, scary comments about Israel. And overall, to me, this is really dumb, offensive in its own way, and pretty much the epitome of how asinine some of the pundits are, showing how incapable they are of having a rational discussion about serious issues, which of course we're going to try to do in this video. And that's my take on it. Jason, what's yours?
Well, I got to tell you, I watched this thing, and in a lot of ways, this is crocodile tears to me. If you look at the under headline here, it says, I probably verge on being a Zionist, and this is at the tail end of the conversation. And Luke, all of this is about a nonsense resolution, really a nothing resolution that was just passed by the House condemning hate. Really? You condemn hate? Oh, well, that's good. And it was so without teeth, Luke, that Omar herself actually voted for this thing, and it just really passed moments ago. So, hey, everybody, good news. Our government has condemned hate, Luke.
I know, it's absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't do anything. The resolution was meant to be against Congresswoman Ilhan Omar for saying that AIPAC was all about the Benjamins. That's the main comment here, because they're calling it tropes now. Now they're going after tropes. And again, I am not a fan of Congressman Ilhan Omar. We have a lot of critical things to say about her and her policy. But to me, this is just delusional what's happening here, because this resolution was supposed to be about her. They took her out of it completely. And now it's just against minorities, against Muslims and anti-Semitism. And it's just a resolution that says, yes, we're not for this thing, which is okay. Like, this is an absolute total waste of time and just virtual signaling, trying to show how better everyone else is. Let's get rid of the emotion. Let's get to the context. Let's get to the video.
Yeah, before we get right to the video, I got to explain that Vox has done an article trying to explain this. And aside from the Benjamins comment, she has talked about an allegiance to a foreign country. She said, we can talk about big pharma, we can talk about big corporations, but we can't talk about foreign entanglements, basically. And that also has been explained as anti-Semitism, Luke. And the thing that really bothered me about this article is that when you get down here and her track record and all the way down here, all of a sudden it's about the protocols of Zion. Why even bring that up? I don't understand. She's never talked about it. It's not something that is relevant in any way, shape, or form, Luke.
Wait, the article mentions it?
Yes, the article actually brings up. See, let's read this really quick before we get to the video. The use of the word allegiance in reference to Israel, and remember, she's talking about AIPAC, a real lobbying organization, okay? Particularly in the context of activities of the heavily Jewish pro-Israel lobbying world, is a touchy subject for good reason. It touches an age-old anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. And then it goes with big heads, the protocols of the elders of Zion, an infamous early 20th century Russian forgery, describes a Jewish plot with moneyed interest to subvert and destroy Christian societies through their finances. And then it doesn't link to her at all. It links to people like Charles Lindbergh. It talks about David Duke. It associates her with all these people that may endorse the protocols of the elders of Zion, but guess who doesn't? Omar. It's mind-blowing that they would do this, Luke, but, when we watch this video, it's very telling where Meghan McCain's head is at, my friend. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah. This issue is a really intense one for me, and just bear with me, because I know, Sonny, you and I in particular don't always agree on this. And I want to say, first and foremost, anti-Semitism shouldn't be a left or right issue. I don't think we should be politicizing it on either side, because, as we know, if it's a tiki torch person in Charlottesville saying Jews will not replace us, or if it's we had Barry Weiss on to talk about sort of these more dog whistle moments that, in my my view, Ilhan Omar is doing. And she, as of Saturday, hadn't been able to have gone 15 days without saying something anti-Semitic.
So let's just stop right there. Dog whistle moments. I don't think anybody is saying that anti-Semitism should be tolerated. And throughout this interview, Luke, I haven't heard her reference an actual anti-Semitic comment. Have you?
Yeah, I mean, we need the evidence here because this is a very serious topic. And yes, anti-Semitism does exist in the world. There are some people who hate people just for simply being Jewish, and that's not okay. But when you're going after such little things, when you're grasping at the straws, you delegitimize every time something seriously happens. And this is a big detriment that people need to bring up and make a very important talking point because, again, you're making this very trivial when it's not, when you're grasping at the straws about these, again, non-issues. And honestly, I don't see it here. I just don't. And where's the evidence?
What's interesting about this is that she is an up-and-coming rising star in the Democratic Party. She's on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine right now. She fits a lot of boxes that Democrats like. She is the first Somali elected member of Congress. She's the first woman, first of 2 Muslim women elected to Congress, and she's the first minority woman to serve from Minnesota. And the problem is right now is there's pressure to support her within the Democratic Party because identity politics and intersectionality is something that is important to Democrats. And I think at this specific moment, this is a watershed moment for Democrats. A lot of Jewish people in this country, I think, are being asked, with the rise of anti-Semitism in this country, is it more important to defend party politics or is it more important to defend anti-Semitism? And
so let me stop it there. Do you really believe, Luke, that anti-Semitism is on the rise in this country? Do you see it now more than ever? Because, you know, you've been in some of the same circles I've been in. And unfortunately, there is an element out there that wants to blame, quote unquote, Jewish supremacy for everything, right? But that's been around since before you and I were even born. It has been around. Do you feel an increase in this? Do you think that's correct, or do you think that's more fear-mongering?
For my own personal experiences, no. But then again, these are just my own personal experiences, and it's very hard to kind of quantify whether they're going up on the rise or they're not going on the rise. Obviously, there's some incentives here for both of those situations. But I think this is just an epitome of the left kind of destroying itself and eating itself on this whole basis of identity politics, which is just absolutely stupid. Because again, Meghan McCain just brought up identity politics. But what's happening here is people are saying, look who the bigger victim is here. And what she is doing is ultimately the bigger epitome here. By vilifying, by attacking Ilhan Omar, you're making her more popular. And this is the whole victimhood Olympics that is perpetrating this kind of bigger political scene that's cancerous. Sorry, let's go ahead.
We can have conversations all day long about how you feel about Israeli politics. Yes, excuse me if you object to it. We can have a conversation all day long about how you feel about Palestinian politics, how you feel about Israeli politics, how you feel about Netanyahu. But in the same way that I fear what's happening with Corbyn in the UK, I fear that it's seeping its way over here in the United States. And I just present this question, which may be an uncomfortable one. If what Ilhan Omar has been saying for the past few weeks were said by a white Republican male, how would you be reacting to it right now?
I would be saying, hallelujah! Hallelujah! Let's get our people out of the Middle East. You know, when we're talking about actual Israeli politics, which she just said was okay, remember that, Luke? Literally, it was just in the previous sentence. So that's what I'm talking about. I don't care if you're Jewish or, you know, what your ethnicity is, what your religious beliefs are. But what I don't like is a country that basically usurped our Yemen resolution to stop bombing them through Saudi Arabia and just tag, well, you know, if Israel wants to bomb them, we better sign on. If it's a joint Israeli operation, then, you know, it's okay to bomb Yemen. And you know what? They bring up Yemen in passing here later on. Joy Behar does. She's asking the question why people are focused because Israel literally was put into the bill so that we could have missile operations, the same ones that are going on behind our backs that we didn't vote for, that is causing a huge humanitarian crisis in Yemen where people are starving because, oh, it's a joint Israeli operation. So now the United States can do that anyway. And that's the truth of the matter, Luke, and we covered that.
Yeah, if a right-wing person said anything, I would be like, I don't care. I don't believe any politicians. So let's keep it going.
I mean, for me, I object to it no matter who says it.
I'm asking the proverbial question.
The other thing why are they always concentrating on Israel is what I want to know. There's a little tiny place apart in the world. I mean, she's from Mogadishu. Does she object to things they do there? I'm assuming she does. And Yemen and Libya and Syria and all the hot spots all over the world. And yet this seems to be the focus of a lot of people around the world, including the UK and here. Israel. And why that particular country? It's very suspicious to me.
Well, let's just stop it right there because
I believe there is some truth here. There is some suspicion that should be had here because even with the foreign aid discussion, it's not just Israel that gets a bunch of foreign aid. It's also Afghanistan. It's also Iraq. It's also a whole bunch of other countries all around the world. And for me, I take the Rand Paul approach on this. Let's not only talk about foreign aid to Israel in the billions of dollars. Let's talk about all the other foreign aid also in the billions of dollars all around the world that shouldn't exist, shouldn't be there. Like there's no reason we should be bailing out and throwing our money in there. And honestly, if you look at Israel compared to all the other countries, it's just as significant. So if you do see someone just concentrating on that, I do believe that is somewhat of a point, but again, a very skeptical point, not one based on direct evidence, circumstantial evidence that could lead to something, but again, nothing solid.
Yeah, but you know what, Luke? What I do want to point out is that there is a lot solid that We Are Change has actually covered the news on all those places. From Libya, from you going to Mogadishu, Somalia, and covering the drone strikes there, to us talking constantly about Syria. I find that people who are concerned, and I'm sure she is as well, of the military actions that are taking place in all of those regions, have a right to discuss Israel when they're sending military there as well. Now, to focus on Israel solely is idiotic, but you have to look at them, again, as an extension of our military. They are our only ally in that region. You know, we have joint military operations against the countries she named again and again and again. And if you look at Glenn Greenwald, you know, he had something to say about this.
I mean, look at Saudi Arabia, look at Egypt. They've been very on hand with the United States. Israel's not the only ally there.
Well, no.
The United States and other Western powers have been effectively using a lot of Middle Eastern countries and working with them. So it's not just Israel.
No, but they don't do joint military operations in the same way that Israel does.
With Saudi Arabia, they do.
Saudi Arabia, they absolutely run joint military operations. It isn't on the same level. Is Saudi Arabia...
Extradition and torture is happening in Egypt with the U.S. intelligence agencies with the cooperation of those two military branches and other countries. And I could go on and on.
I totally agree there, but there's one thing.
It's not just Israel.
Can Saudi Arabia have nuclear weapons with the U.S. blessing? Not so much. Not so much.
What? You broke up.
I said, can Saudi Arabia have nuclear weapons with the U.S. blessing? Not so much. There's still...
Well, that's literally what... I mean, there's articles and some sources saying that Michael Flynn, Trump's former national security advisor, tried to do that. And it wouldn't surprise me with how, close the United States and Jared Kushner is to Saudi Arabia, with Jared Kushner trying to negotiate better deals for Saudi Arabia with U.S. military equipment. So
no, I agree. Listen, it's getting bad. Kushner's pushing for that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Saudi Arabia already has nuclear weapons, since, of course, even Pakistan has nuclear weapons, mainly because of the United States. If Pakistan has nuclear weapons and the technology from the United States that was given to them, why wouldn't Saudi Arabia as well?
Well, because Pakistan, actually, their military and their intelligence system was pretty much usurped in the 50s by British intelligence and then further infiltrated with not only British but U.S. intelligence in the late 70s through the Bin Laden Mujahideen program. That's why the ISI works so closely with U.S. intelligence, the CIA. That's why you had General Mahmoud Ahmed in the United States on the morning of the attacks of 9/11 talking to Bob Graham and Porter Goss after he had wired $100,000 to Muhammad Atta literally the week before. But that's a whole other can of worms right there, Luke Radowski.
Let's continue with the clips here.
Yes, sir. Let's keep going.
Can I say that I 100% agree with you on that? And I think that we should be talking about human rights violations globally, everywhere. In Iran, gay people can be thrown off of buildings for simply being gay. Women can't wear tank tops in the street without being stoned. There are human rights violations going around globally. And I agree with you. My question to Ilhan Omar is, why specifically this area of the world? Why specifically this group of people? And just putting a button on this, because I know you've let me filibuster. She is on a committee, a foreign relations committee, that will be in charge of what happens globally with our diplomacy. I'm uncomfortable with that in the same way that I was uncomfortable with.
Yeah, you think that one right there is a fair question?
I think why are you specifically just talking about Israel? There's a lot of other horrible things happening around the world, and I think if you're going to talk about Israel, you got to talk about all the other places as well. And I think that's a fair question. But let's just continue on.
Steve King being on that
well, to your question, Joy, I think we should talk about the comment that she made that has spurned all of this discussion, right?
There are many comments.
There are many comments, but the comment that she made that we're talking about, that the resolution has come from, she said, so for me, because she has apologized for the other comments, for two of the comments.
Well, she also had a lot of pressure to apologize.
But she did apologize. So the comment she said was, so for me, I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it is okay for people to push for allegiance to a foreign country. And I want to ask, why is it okay for me to talk about the influence of the NRA, of fossil fuel industries, or big pharma, and not talk about a powerful lobby that is influencing policy? That's what—
Boom.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I think it's fair to question all of them. I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, I get it, but that's what she's being accused of. You know, she's talked about the U.S. allegiance of AIPAC and Israel, and when she questions that, that's anti-Semitic. And I don't think that question is anti-Semitic, and I don't think you do either.
I don't think it's anti-Semitic, but it should be questioned why there's such a big focus on it, and not, of course, other countries as well. It's debatable who's the biggest one and who's not, but let's just continue on.
People say that is anti-Semitic. When we had Barry, no, let me just finish. When we had Barry Weiss on as an expert in what is anti-Semitic and what isn't, I asked her, is it okay to talk about Israel's policies and not be called anti-Semitic?
And she said
yes.
And
she said yes. She said where it crosses the line is when you say that Israel does not have the right to exist, that is when it crosses the line. Now, Omar has never suggested that Israel does not have the right to exist.
Can I say what she has said?
So, to me, it seems to me that Republicans are trying to use this as a wedge issue.
I'm really not.
And I think that—
Not you. She's not talking about you.
You know, this selective outrage is kind of crazy, because I don't think that the Republicans have moral high ground here.
But it seems like Democrats
I think
are upset
that Kevin McCarthy has used these anti-Semitic tropes. I think that Jim Jordan just recently, tweeted this
against Tom Steyer.
Remember that Ilhan Omar in the West Virginia Republican Party just had this huge poster superimposed with her face with 9/11 terrorists. And I haven't heard any outrage about that coming from the Republican Party.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, well, that made the media too, and you know how I feel about that. I think it's ridiculous. Obviously, I don't think her or anybody associated with her had anything to do with 9/11. I don't think that 9/11 can happen without not only radical Islam, but the military-industrial complex and covert operations.
I think her points are solid and on point, and I have nothing to disagree with those specific points.
Yeah.
All that to say is that this selective outrage, and I will tell you, I take this very personally as a woman of color who has been the subject of so much bigotry. And what a lot of people don't know is that my grandfather is Jewish. He is a Sephardic Jew. And so I have, my family members have received a lot of bigotry. So, I've experienced firsthand in my family anti-Semitism and bigotry for being black. And so I just, this whole, thing,
Sonny,
I think it's just a distraction.
Are you comfortable with me speaking now?
I just want to stop. I just loved her. I don't know who she was. I've never watched the show. I know who Meghan McCain is, obviously, but I think she just killed it right there, as a person of color, of, partial Jewish descent. She has battled these things, and she's talking about what it is, a distraction, Luke.
Her arguments are good. Her identity doesn't matter to me. Let's keep it going with Meghan McCain, who's dying to jump in here.
Are we comfortable with me rebutting now?
Yes.
Okay. So She also said Israel has hypnotized the world, suggested that Jews in Israel have bought U.S. politicians all about the Benjamins, implied that American Jews have divided loyalties and it's okay for people to push allegiance to a foreign country. I again
say Jews.
Why this obsession with Jerusalem and Israel? Why this obsession with this specific area of the country? And as you've said many times, these are dog whistle comments for Jewish Americans.
Yes,
they are,
we
agree. and they hear what she's saying, and
she had to apologize for that.
But you have to admit, Meghan, that it is disingenuous of the Republican Party to go after her. This is her point, when they are backing a president who is in bed with dictators committing human rights violations all over the world.
Traffics in bigotry. Traffics in bigotry.
Let's go there.
So just really quickly.
Let's just stop there. So just so everybody knows, the quote is, Israel has hypnotized the world.
I'm like Googling that right now to see if she actually did say that.
No, she tweeted it out January 22nd. Israel has hypnotized the world.
But what about? Like, exactly what?
I'm sure she's talking about their foreign policy. I mean, let me just say this. Luke, if someone said the United States or America has hypnotized the world.
In 2012. She said that in 2012 that Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. That's a very strong statement there, Jason. I could understand why people see that as an attack against Israel and anti-Semitic.
America, hold on. America has hypnotized the world. May God open up the eyes of its citizen to the atrocities and horrors America has caused throughout the globe. Do I hate Americans?
Well, still, it's a very aggressive comment. I didn't know she made this statement until now, until Meghan McCain brought it up. And I mean, there's a case here, Jason. Let's not deny it here. There's that definitely is a poorly worded, aggressive statement against Israel.
I got to disagree. I don't think that's it. Again, she's pointing at a nation state. I don't love the invocation of a deity or a godlike figure. That's not great, Luke. But obviously, she is religious. She's wearing the headpiece. Let's wrap it up with some baby mama drama, McCain. And I got to tell you, I think these are crocodile tears. A lot of people are going to hate on me for this. But to me, this does not seem like genuine emotion. This seems like she's playing it up for the cameras and she's trying to draw people out.
Since we're talking about I take this very personally. I would go so far as to say I probably verge on being a Zionist as well. But I will say that I don't have family that is Jewish, but Joe Lieberman and Hadassah Lieberman are my family.
Yeah.
And I take the hate crimes rising in this country incredibly seriously, and I think what's happening in Europe is really scary. And I'm sorry if I'm getting emotional, but
you're right.
The idea that this is politicized, I'm really not. I was very nervous to talk about this on the show because I thought it would become politicized, and it really shouldn't be. On both sides, it should be called out.
Right.
And just because I don't technically have Jewish family that are blood related to me, it doesn't mean I don't take this as seriously, and it is very dangerous. Very dangerous. And I think we all collectively as Americans on both sides, and what Ilhan Omar is saying is very scary to me, and it's very scary to a lot of people, and I don't think you have to be Jewish to recognize that.
And I just hope instead of a resolution just from the Democrats, I'm tired of the selective outrage, and I hope that we have a joint resolution perhaps from Republicans and from the Democrats.
I don't think we need any resolution. I just want to say that, and I don't know, what was your take on that last very emotional display by Meghan McCain?
It wouldn't surprise me if the motion is real. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, for her, Ilhan Omar saying it's all about the Benjamins, I mean, that's not scary. The other comment, kind of debatable because it is a very aggressive comment. Glenn Greenwald said about this whole thing, quote, "This might be the single dumbest thing ever to happen on television and an excellent exhibit for how nepotism and dynastic privilege degrades culture." Molly Crabapple, an artist that I also know, says, quote, "The most offensive thing to me as a Jew is seeing Meghan McCain blubber while saying she's terrified of Ilhan Omar on my behalf." And yeah, that's also important to bring up here. Michael Tracy brought up another very important point, saying Meghan McCain literally breaking down in tears on national television over Omar is a perfect encapsulation of how so many pundits and politicians are utterly incapable of rationally discussing this issue without turning into angry, blubbering, emotional wrecks. And I believe that's a good testament to make here. It is a very hyperbolic, divisive issue that, of course, should be debated rationally. I think there is just a lot of time wasted on this, a lot of hot air, and we need more evidence, we need more actions, and we need to get through this rationally. I do believe there are some important questions to ask about the obsession that some people have about Israel, sure, but we need concrete things that happen to really go after these things, because true hatred does exist, true anti-Semitism does exist, but when you grasp at the straws, you again get rid of the legitimacy and seriousness of this issue, and that's something that shouldn't be done, which I believe Meghan McCain is somewhat responsible for here doing. Obviously, an extremely divisive issue, which me and Jason even disagree on. So if Jason, you disagree on anything that I just said, let me know. We're always looking forward to your comments in the comment section below. But anything else you want to say, Jason?
No, I just want to say that it's always good to have these discussions. At least they talked about it. I don't agree with Meghan McCain, but then you saw I don't really agree with her opposition all the way. I don't think a resolution is necessary. I think any common sense person is against hate, is against bigotry, and I don't think questioning a nation state or a lobbying group by name and by their actions and by their financial connections can be seen in any way as anti-Semitic. But hey, that's just me.
I agree, and it shouldn't be anti-Semitic, and it shouldn't be as big of a controversy as it is. Okay, we actually agreed on something, but we disagreed on the nuances. But that's okay. That's what makes our show a little bit different. And of course, you guys participating and supporting us, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. And that's why thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button for more videos coming here your way 3 times a day now on the backup channel, and of course 1 time on the main channel on youtube.com/we are changed.